what could the deal mean or portend for the rest of the pharmaceutical industry? Brian Tempest, former Managing Director of Ranbaxy and Chairman of Hale & Tempest, joins in now to talk about this. Brian, good to see you again. We have had a clutch of deals in the pharmaceutical space. What do you think is sort of triggering these? Is it essentially because the generic space is getting tougher as seen by most Indian promoters?
Well, there's no doubt that the generic pharmaceutical marketplace is getting tougher. In fact, in my view, I think competition is rising, and I think also the risks are increasing as well. There's been a lot more at-launch risks in the USA, and there is a lot more competition, and there's lots of pressure on prices. So, yes, competition's rising and risks are getting greater.
Dr. Tempest, morning. The move, though, that was initiated by Abbott on Friday basically kickstarts them to #1 player in the domestic market at any rate. Who do you think might move as aggressively next amongst the big MNCs?
Well, this is really an interesting deal because Abbott has really been on the sidelines as far as discussions. There's lots of meetings going on around India between Western companies and promoter families, and there's all many reasons why these sort of M&A activities may lead to a certain amount of deal making. But after Abbott coming in and taking the #1 position, it's got 7,000 reps and a 7% market share. It really is quite breathtaking. From my side, I'm not surprised that actually there's been another deal because I do think there's lots of motivation from the big pharma side to move into the emerging world, and there's also a lot of interest from the promoter families to look at divesting their family shareholdings. So there is a rich environment for these sort of deals.
Is there a clear delineation of interest, though, where the domestic players are understanding and accepting now that it's contract manufacturing where the greater upside potential is, and the MNCs are moving in for the kill in the formulations business?
Well, no, I think the contract manufacturing sector is a different sector to the emerging world sector. The contract manufacturing market worldwide is about $70 or $80 billion, and in fact Asia only has a small share, 10%. And in fact, if you look into the 10%, I think India only has 4%. So there's a huge potential for contract research and manufacturing. But what is driving this deal is the importance of increasing the market presence in the emerging world. And Abbott has actually really become quite a big player in the emerging world through this deal, and it's now bigger than Glaxo in the emerging world. And so there will be a lot of soul searching going on in some of these big pharma companies as to how Abbott has pulled this off, and one or two others have not.
Any particular molecules on the research front that you are watching out, that coming out of India in the next few quarters, Brian?
Well, I think there will be a continuing flow of molecules out of India. I've always been, and I continue to be, very positive on the future of the pharma industry in India. And I think that there will be a continuing basis for many companies to look at India for either generics or for contract manufacturing. In terms of the generic sector, it's very interesting what's happening with monoclonals in India. And I think it's a very interesting deal that there is between Mylan and Biocon, which is focused on biogenerics and monoclonals in particular. So I think those are some of the areas to watch for the future.
Now that the Piramal Healthcare deal has happened, which Indian companies or businesses do you think could be ripe for the picking for the large global MNCs?
Well, it's very difficult for me to comment on any individual company. I mean, I'm a consultant to Maple, who are based in Bombay, and through them we've been talking to a number of different companies, both in the West and also in India. These discussions are happening everywhere, and they're driven for very good reasons from both parties, and I'm sure they will continue. And I think it's very interesting that the Abbott deal is actually coming in at the same EBITDA ratio as the Ranbaxy deal, and so there is, if you like, a marker being set in terms of 22 times EBITDA, which some people thought the Ranbaxy deal was a one-off, but now there's two at the same level, and I think this will help to settle a certain benchmark, and at the same time it will also make a number of promoter families look at taking this as an opportunity for their liquidity event as they evolve in their shareholding.